Hello everybody, I'm back with my messy bun, but it's like really messy, so hopefully that's not a distraction. I'm just trying to get on here and not think about the makeup, the lights, and all the equipment and all that. My goal is really just to get started, because how many of you know that trying to figure out all the details and get everything perfect will just cause you to procrastinate? And I felt like this was something that I really wanted to do, so I am before you looking however I look in this hot stuffy room in Puerto Rico. But anyway, so I don't want to belabor the point. Let's get started. So with this video, I'm going to talk about something that is, I haven't wanted to talk about it for a long time, but it's a little bit, you know, there can be shame when you talk about financial failures. There can be shame, there can be, I don't know, you just feel like, I heard someone say it like this, like your finances are your adult report card. So if you're doing good with money, you know, you're like, oh, I'm breezing by life, I'm getting all A's. And if you're doing bad, you might feel like you're getting C's or D's or even F's, failing grade. And so before I start with like where I am present day, let me just give you some background, because a lot of you might be new to these videos or new to my channel. And the name of my financial blog was Principles of Increase, and I still own the domain, but I have had some issues like getting the blog back up. But I started that blog in 2014. Why? Because the year prior I had paid off all of my debt. I was married at the time, and we paid off a bunch of student loans, car loans, miscellaneous debt, credit card loans, and the total amount was around $120,000. And so the awesome thing about going through that journey was that I was a stay-at-home mom. The person I was married to worked at the post office, and I did earn some money from home. So we're like, I would say like maybe 1.5 salary-ish, depending on the day, because my side hustle, sometimes, you know, I was making money, and sometimes it was just a season where I had to really focus on my kids or my, you know, personal, whatever, you know, I needed to tend to, like things of the household. So we did have this ebb and flow of like a half of a second income. But the great part of that testimony was that we decided to get out of debt. We were able to do it on 1.5-ish incomes. And kind of like the claim to fame for those of you who are familiar with my story is that we moved to the hood to get out of debt. So some of these stories might exist online, but it's been profiled a few times by some of the top web personal finance outlets. I know we've been in like MarketWatch, Yahoo Finance, Dr. Oz when he had a magazine, and Kiplinger's. So just a bunch of cool features talking about how we got out of debt, and kind of like the catalyst for that happening was moving to a home in the hood on the south side of Chicago, which happened to be mortgage free. So in that story, a relative of ours, well, a relative of mine, inherited a home, and they were like, I am a suburbanite, as are we. I don't want to move to the city. And well, let me say it like this. They were living comfortably in the suburbs, and we were the true suburbanites. And this relative was like, I don't want to live on the south side. I have a comfortable life here in the suburbs. Do you all want this house? You just have to fix it up and clean it out. And at first I was like, no, I don't want to live in the hood. I don't want to live on the south side. And then I thought about it, and during this time we were aggressively trying to pay down our debt, I thought, wow, what would that mean for us to live someplace where we didn't have any mortgage, no rent payments? How much faster could we get to our goal of debt freedom? So after thinking about it and going over, you know, the pros and cons, we decided to take the property, and it was such a blessing. Within 3 years of moving in is when we paid off the rest of our debt. So that process was like maybe between 7 and 9 years. It was kind of 7 and 9 years. It was kind of touch and go, because we had to take breaks. We had to make a pause in some of our debt payments because we were cleaning out the property. We were making some fixes to the property. I had a baby during that time. So a lot of life issues. So the condensed timeline, I would say, just, you know, that we spent just purely paying down debt was probably like 5-6 years, something like that. But over the course of our marriage, probably I would put that timeline at about 6 or 7 years it took us to pay off over $120,000 worth of debt. So that was like such a crowning achievement. And when we did that, life was great. I was able to really dive into homeschooling. We even did like world schooling where I was able to take the kids on trips, and we did traveling, things like that. I put my kids in acting and entertainment, who until this day, you know, have been able to save money, invest money, and plus they had the fun of going on set, seeing themselves on TV, at TV commercials, and hearing themselves in radio spots. So that was like a really precious experience, being able to live. I used to say we're hood rich because we lived on the south side of Chicago. We had access to a major airport. We were able to travel a lot. I was able to really just be the mom and wife that I had always envisioned. And I will say that during that time, life felt really, really good, despite some of the issues that were brewing in the background with my marriage. And that's another story. I will definitely post a video about that another time. But the point is, we paid off all this debt. We were being featured in, you know, in different articles online, different, even print magazines. And life was really good. We started investing in real estate. We were able to put money into our retirement funds. And I was really on track to be a debt-free millionaire. At this point, I probably would have been a debt-free millionaire with maybe 4 or 5 properties. That's how we were trending. However, life happened, and I had to go through a divorce. And it was a really difficult time for me. And again, I don't want to go too much into that story, but it was a contributing factor why I actually got back into debt. So during the divorce proceedings, which were just taking so long, I had this epiphany, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask for anything or take anything or fight for anything. Really, the only thing that I wanted to walk away with was my kids, and I got that. And I was like, everything else, you know, is not important. Unfortunately, there really wasn't a fight for the custody or the kids, so I'm very thankful for that. And during that kind of settlement, I also agreed to take on all the debt that was in my name. So we had some credit card debt for some Airbnbs and some investments, real estate investments that I had taken on. And they would have been paid off on schedule had everything continued, had I been able to recoup the money that I was earning for some of those Airbnbs. I walked away from that income, and as a result, I was kind of left holding the bag. So that I racked up debt from that, and I wasn't working all of 2020, even before the pandemic hit. I felt really strongly impressed by the Lord to rest and take care of my mental health. For those of you who have gone through divorce, you know that it can be an incredibly difficult, taxing, emotionally trying time. And I know a lot of people who came out of that and they didn't do so well mentally, and some even end up going into the same situation that they left in their divorce. Maybe if they had an abusive partner, they went back to another abusive person, you know, same situation, but just like a different face. And I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want to go back to what I believe God had delivered me from. So, okay, sorry, I had to get water. I feel like my mouth was getting really dry, so sorry about that. Anywho, back to what I was saying is that the year 2020, I feel like the Lord impressed upon my heart, like, you need to rest. And rest is such a biblical concept. Yes, there is a season for hustle, for go, but not taking the rest that God has ordained for you can also have detrimental effects on your emotional health, on your physical health. So that's something I've been learning lately, to really respect God's schedule of rest. So I take a Sabbath. That's, you know, a day off every week where like there's no work, no computers, no nothing. And I also listen to the Lord when he wants me to take a longer Sabbath. That's why people take sabbaticals. So yeah, so the idea came to me in 2020. The Lord was like, you need to take a Sabbath or a sabbatical. And this is before COVID started. And I was just like, Lord, how's this going to work? And I will say that for the most part, all of my needs were met. And I'm going to be transparent. I did some spending I probably should not have done. You know, I was depending on some credit cards because I'm like, well, I already have debt from the divorce. Let me just, you know, I was like in a dark place. So I did some things that were definitely unwise. And, you know, someone might say like, if you're a principled person, you'll never fall back into, and I, you know, if I was listening to the story of a person like me, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I probably would have the same mindset. I probably would judge harshly and say, it doesn't matter, you know, debt is never an option. And I still believe that. Like, the ideal thing is for you to depend on God and not go into debt. Excuse me. You all, I sweat so much here, and in order to record, I have to turn the fan off, and I don't have all the ACs installed in my room, so I'm hot right now. So I'm gonna be drinking probably just to, you know, I'll be talking a lot, I'm sweating, so I'm just gonna have to take sips of water. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, let me get back to what I was saying about like just going into debt. It's something that I never wanted to do. I was very judgy McJudgy when I got out of debt. I'm like, you gotta do this and do that. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, and I still am. I will admit that we departed from some of those ways once we paid off all of our debt, but his system works. I'll place a link to his book below. So I just want to say that, yeah, that was my situation. So I'm happy and sad about it, because who wants to go back into debt? Especially, I felt like I was in a season where I was like really, you know, I was set to soar. Like I said, we were on track to be debt-free millionaires with multiple properties, and the divorce just, I don't want to say destroyed that, because I believe in God's restoration. I believe in his timing. Maybe it caused a hiccup, but it's not, hey, you know the saying, one monkey don't stop no show. So, or two monkeys, you know, if you want to say, well, you both got divorced. So, okay, two monkeys will not stop this show. What God has for me is for me. So anyway, try not to say, so anyway, I did I made some decisions, or decided to take on a lot of debt that was due to our businesses. I didn't take the businesses. I didn't take the income from those businesses, but I took the debt, and I was in an emotionally I was in a low place emotionally going through divorce, because there also was a matter of my personal safety at an extremely contentious, it was very high conflict and acrimonious. Divorce is bad, but when you have a high conflict divorce, gosh, I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. And at that time, the person I was married to, they decided to become my worst enemy. And I was like, I don't even want this for you. So if that says anything to you, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. But, you know, a hard divorce is brutal. And that's what I was going through. So that combination of like that perfect storm, and then COVID came. And during that time, I had to reorient some of the guest reservations that I had at Airbnb to another Airbnb, and I took on debt doing that. You know, all with this idea that God is going to restore me, and I still believe that. Could I have done some things better, different, more savvy? Obviously, yeah, but I didn't. There were some things that I did very smart though too. So again, another video will go into the details, but the point here is that I'm back. I'm glad and sad, because again, who wants to go back into debt? But I'm also glad because when I started my financial blog, and I was telling people like, this is how you get out of debt, I was coming from a place where I was like, I had already accomplished it. I started the blog after I got out of debt. And so a lot of people did relate to me, and they were inspired. But there was always this thing in the back of my head, like, I wonder how much more relatable I would be if I was actually like digging out of the trenches with my audience, because I had seen other bloggers have that same situation. And of course, I would never go back in debt though to accomplish that, obviously. However, I always had that thought, and you know, it came and went, because I was like, well, I'm not going back to debt to figure it out. But as life would have it, that, you know, that's exactly what happened to me. And so I feel like now I'll be coming from a place where I can just walk through the process of getting out of debt, because my intention is to pay off all of this debt and do it very quickly. It's not going to be 10 years. It's not even going to be 5 years. I'd be surprised if it takes me 2 or 3 years, because this is the point of the video. Last time I went through this process and it took a long time. I used my budget, I used my Dave Ramsey plan, and those are wonderful things. But this time I feel like God wants to tell a different story. And the story is, yes, show up, be diligent, do what you have to do. However, trust me for a move of my power and my spirit. And in fact, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, not by power, not by might, but by the Spirit of the Lord. And so, you know, even the Bible talks about the children of Israel leaving Egypt, and God told Pharaoh that, God told Moses that Pharaoh is not going to let you go except by a mighty hand. It's going to take the strength of the Lord. So yes, you can get out of debt, making your budgets, you know, listening to Dave Ramsey, increasing your income, decreasing your expenses. And I am doing all of that, right? Working through all that. However, this time I truly believe that there's going to be a mighty move of God where I can point people to God, you know, because I do have delight pointing people to budget and, you know, this financial book and that financial book. But I feel like the better thing would be, instead of, you know, telling you the formulas, because honestly, the formulas are going to change. Who knew that COVID was coming? Who knew that recession was coming? Who knew that these different things, or who knew that divorce was coming? However, so that makes me know that a formula may work, but sometimes it may not work. That's the weakness of a formula. But what if I can introduce you to the formula maker, who has a formula that takes into account the COVID, divorce, recession, health emergencies, right? So that's what I want to do this time around. I want to mix the practical with the spiritual. And I did that somewhat in my last financial existence, my last financial life, right? I did, you know, oh, here's some scriptures, glory to God. But now I want to be a living, walking, talking, breathing testimony to say, like, you all, I thought I had everything figured out, but I really need the hand of God and the Spirit of God to guide me, because there are some blind spots. There are some things that one just cannot anticipate. And that's exactly what happened to me. I thought I had everything figured out and my formulas were going to work. I had never in a million years thought that divorce would be a part of my equation, much less a divorce that would really give me a financial reset. And I mean that in a good and kind of like a sad way. And I'm not going to belabor that point because the video is already long. However, the point is that I want this next journey of getting out of debt. It's going to be quicker. It's going to be fast. It's going to be inspiring. And I'm just prophesying to myself. It's going to be all those things that I knew God wanted me to talk about in my last financial journey, but I felt like I didn't have the material or the experience. And now I will. You all are going to see how submitting things to God is going to fast track your process of getting out of debt, acquiring wealth, and doing what you really want to do financially in your life. And so, yes, I'm digging out of debt. And for those of you who want to know what the debt consists of, I recently purchased a home in Florida. I came to Puerto Rico. I needed a car. I got a car. Some credit card debt from some business endeavors. I just got my real estate license, so I pay like marketing stuff, software fees. So been using credit cards for that until I can get a regular flow of clients and close transactions. What else? Some IRS stuff. Whew, hope IRS is not watching. I'm gonna call y'all soon. What else? Yeah, just a little miscellaneous stuff. So the whole tally, I tallied the other day, and I'm right around 370. And I'm gonna just say 390 because I do have a personal loan with someone who has helped me with some investments, and I've actually paid over half of that loan off, so I'm excited. I've been paying regularly on that, and I'm, you know, doing what I need to do with that. So I'm just gonna, let's just say 390. And yeah, so I invite you on this journey as I dig out of over $390,000 worth of debt, which includes a house, car, and credit cards and some other miscellaneous stuff. I am kind of sad that I got back into this situation, but I'm happy that I get to share it with you and I get to show you how miraculously God is going to work while I am also diligent in doing what I need to do on my end. So hopefully that wasn't like too long of a ramble, and hopefully it didn't bore you to tears. If it did, listen to it on double time. And anyway, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.